so that I can concentrate really well on what I'm doing, on what I'm here for. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us in this miracle session. And so today we start with a review, part of the review of the first 50 lessons. And because they're so very helpful to come to the undoing of our thinking, and we need to practice that every day. Just to get the habit of doing that, get in the habit of letting go of what happened a moment ago. Because especially when you just enter into this room, it's like your head might be still full of what happened just a moment ago, or what seemed to happen just a moment ago, because it is gone. And we discovered that there's no link of memory to the past. And so to practice that and to have that in your awareness and to literally have your mind ready for that, it is really great to use the first 50 lessons of A Course in Miracles, and especially the review, because they're so easy to read. And at the same time, you get into the practice of letting go. So you're invited to participate in that. And for the rest, I would say just relax. Take time to be really gentle with yourself. Don't follow up on any thoughts that you have. Whatever I share, it's not about understanding. Like, it's not about that you get it in an understanding way. No. It is more like you open yourself up for a new frequency, for new vibrations of life and love that you will feel all through your system anyway. You don't need your brain for that, or you don't need your understanding for that. No, that is literally given to you by being open to join with what is given. So we know this. It's like the mind that stops for a moment and is still is where the miracle enters into just naturally. So that is what we practice here. And I'm really happy that you want to join in that, because that practice is, it's pretty unique. I can tell you that. It's pretty unique what we're doing here. And yet it is your natural inheritance. It is basically the only natural activity that you can have here. So the fact that you take time to enter into this is really wonderful, because it is basically your gift. It is basically your gift to God. So, and that's why this is, like quality time. Literally, it's like quality time to do this. It is really giving everything to God for a moment, realizing basically what you are. That's for you, and that is really great. So here we go. Here we go. So sit back and relax and let this just happen to you, so to speak. I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I have judged it amiss? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense in trying to understand it, but there is every reason to let it go and make room for what can be seen, understood, and loved. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is not this a better choice than the one I made before? These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I have made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm never upset for the reason I think because I'm constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I'm constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I've misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. I'm willing to let it go. I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It's impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it is always because I've replaced reality with the illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mine. I'm always upset by nothing. I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything I see, making them my enemies. When I've forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I'm trying to use time against God. Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in so doing, I'm giving up nothing. I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I can see only what is now. The choice is not whether to see the past or the present. The choice is merely whether to see or not. What I have chosen to see has caused me vision. Now I would choose again that I may see. Okay, so this is our start. So the other lesson, 66, I said 67, but it's 66. My happiness and my function are one, is also connected to this idea. You know, it's like I constantly look with a preoccupation for the past. So I'm constantly bringing past back into this moment and wonder why I don't have a direct experience of the love of God. So that we're really going to take care of that, so to speak, in this class. It's like you're familiar with the fact that that you have a past and an occupation with it, that you think about it, that you make it real, that your ideas about yourself are what you believe that you are. And on the other hand, you have your moments of stillness in which you realize, oh my God, there's a God, you know, like that. It's like those two are completely different. And you can call one seeing, like when you are in communication, you are seeing. And when you're in the world, like preoccupied with the past, say the world is then really the past, you see that you're not seeing anything at all, while it still keeps your mind busy. It's amazing. And we're familiar with it, and we know now that you don't have to do that. But say there's still things like really deeply down that you still bring into this present moment, because you're like in a process of transformation. So you got to forgive yourself in that is occurring, because it is like memories are coming up or habits are coming up in which you still tend to do that, to do your old thing, so to speak. So one of the things is giving yourself a description of yourself about what you're supposed to do here, like what you're supposed to do in this world, for instance, or what you're supposed to do as an occupation, or what is your function anyway here in this dream. So that is really interesting, because it is very familiar to you to think in that in terms of, well, I got to become something, or yes, I worked for 20 years as a this and that, and this is what I do. You're really familiar with that too. So it seems to be normal to think that way. See, and then the funny part is in what we just read is continuously we get the idea of present memory, like this moment now. We get that in our face, literally. It's like, no, what happened before is over. So all your ideas that you take with you and think that you are describing you in a way that is actually already based on the past. Like nothing that you see, as you do as a human being, nothing that you see is there. Like you literally see only the past. Everything you think about is already over or anticipated in the future. It's like, okay, that's going to happen next week. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then the plans that you make for the future appear to be completely different than what you thought it would be. And you wonder why you're disappointed in all of that. It's like, so these cycles, you know them very well. And that's why it's good to take a look at it, because to get out of it, you have to actually see what you're doing. Otherwise you get frustrated and you have no idea how to get out of it. So with the idea of function, it is really like, well, you have an idea about what your function is here, maybe to help others or to become a great neuroscientist, or maybe a rocket scientist, or maybe just not working at all and doing your housekeeping, or taking care of your neighbor, or who knows what your description of your function is for yourself. See, and then it's always like you come up with an idea that is formulated, literally put in form. It has to look a certain way. It is about an action, a certain action that you're familiar with or that you would love to do. See, and where's that based on is always, again, based on ideas that you hold, like value systems that you're attached to, value systems that you grew up with. Like, no, that's really important. I got my, this is value for me. This is important, and so on. That's, see, all this seems to be very normal as a human being. So here in the lesson that we're going to read, you see that is totally different, and that you're basing your life on something that's already over as a human being. And now the new possibility to let this function literally be written on you, that is given you by God, and that is like your natural inheritance, and that already belongs to you, but you forgot to remember it. So today we're going to dive into that and remember it literally, and seeing that, yes, that's not gone. No, you can immediately fulfill your function. So what is your function? So that's what we're going to read. My happiness and my function are one. You have surely noticed an emphasis throughout your recent lessons on the connection between fulfilling your function and achieving happiness. This is because you do not really see the connection. Yet there is more than just a connection between them. They are the same. Their forms are different, but their content is completely one. Okay, so here's you as a human being. The ego does constantly battle with the Holy Spirit on the fundamental question what your function is. So does it constant battle with the Holy Spirit about what your happiness is. It is not a two-way battle. The ego attacks, the Holy Spirit does not respond. He knows what your function is. He knows that it is your happiness. So today, this is an active practice. Today we will try to go past this wholly meaningless battle and arrive at the truth about your function. Like you want to know what it is. You want to know what it is. You want to feel what it is. And if it is happiness, yes, you would love to experience that. We will not engage in ceaseless arguments about what it is. We will not become hopelessly involved in defining happiness and determining the means for achieving it. We will not indulge the ego by listening to its attacks on truth. We will merely be glad that we can find out what truth is. And then it's like, okay, so here is something to review for yourself. Here is something given for you to contemplate. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. So let us just use these sentences for a moment. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. So think about that for a moment. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. Try to see the logic in this sequence, even if you do not accept the conclusion. It is only if the first two thoughts are wrong that the conclusion could be false. Let us then think about the premises for a while as we're practicing. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me, therefore my function must be happiness. The first premise is that God gives you only happiness. This could be false, of course, but in order to be false, it is necessary to define God as something He is not. Love cannot give evil, and what is not happiness is evil. God cannot give what He does not have, and He cannot have what He is not. So unless God gives you only happiness, He must be evil. And it is this definition of Him which you are believing if you do not accept the first premise. God gives me only happiness. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me, therefore my function must be happiness. So the second premise is that God is giving you your function. We have seen that there are two parts of your mind. One is ruled by the ego and is made up of illusions. The other is the home of the Holy Spirit where truth abides. There are no other guides but these to choose between, and no other outcomes possible as a result of your choice but the fear which the ego always engenders, and the love which the Holy Spirit always offers to replace it. So we go back to this. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me, therefore my function must be happiness. So here we are. For a moment we will have a quiet time just to ponder this. So God only gives happiness. God has given me my function. So my function must be happiness. My function and my happiness are one. Yeah, that's great. So whatever happened before is over. That makes it easier, doesn't it? Like whatever happened before is over. I don't have to think about what my function is. Like, no, it's here, it is given to me. My function and my happiness are one, both given to me by God. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to have ideas about it. No, I just have to remember that that is true. As soon as I feel happy, I know that it is true. You know, that is always with this, like, this is always the case. Whenever you experience happiness, it becomes obvious that it's completely given. It has nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with anything in this world. That is so great, you know, to receive something for no reason in that sense, except that it's your birthright, that you're completely entitled to it. And it's happening now. It's given to you, just say out of the blue if you want. You know, that's so great. So when you experience it, it all becomes clear. Like, yes, of course, my function is happiness. What else am I going to do? You know, what else am I going to do? And does it mean that I don't do anything in the world? No, that doesn't mean that either. No. But I know that my function and my happiness are one. For the rest, I don't connect it to anything. Like, no, I'm radiating that happiness into my dream, into my world, so to speak. This is what I give to everyone I meet. My function is my happiness. I love you. Thank you. You know, like this. Okay, so some other considerations are given here. Think about this during the longer practice periods today. So we just had a short, say, quiet time. But you can do this, let this come back in a longer practice period if you feel like doing that. And then think of this. You know, think of this. Think about this during the longer practice periods today. Think also about the many forms which the illusion of your function has taken in your mind, as the many ways in which you try to find salvation under the ego's guidance. Did you find it? Were you happy? Did they bring you peace? We need great honesty today. Remember the outcomes fairly, and consider also whether it was ever reasonable to expect happiness from anything the ego has ever proposed. Yet the ego is the only alternative to the Holy Spirit's voice. So it's either you listen to the voice or you listen to ego. And what is the difference? When you listen to the Holy Spirit, you get comforted, literally. You feel peace, you feel love, you feel connectedness. You feel like part of everything. And with the ego, it's always like, oh no, that didn't work out. It's always limitation, it's contraction, it's fear, it's like uncomfortableness. So you can repeat this idea during the day, and maybe you're doing a different lesson today. That's fine too. But I just wanted to bring this in because of the, say, it's so well suited in the way that we were starting our session here. That's why I bring it in. So it's, you can always do that. It is not forbidden or anything. You don't have to work this in a certain way other than it's given to you to use it. And that is a matter of listening to it. Listen to the Spirit's voice, listen to it and giving it away, using it for yourself, taking time to let yourself be immersed in this and affected by this. Okay, so the other part that I wanted to share with you is a guided meditation, so we can also become quiet again and let this come to us. So I will read it. It's from chapter 21. You might have heard it. It's like the forgotten song. And after that, I will play a little bit of, say, music, piano music. I hope that I found something that is pretty quiet. I think so. I will not turn it up too high. Anyway, it's more like we have a little quiet time after that too, to listen, to relax, to enjoy the quiet time, to enjoy our function and our happiness. So are you ready for this? Wonderful. So this is from chapter 21b, but then in the middle of the section it starts this. Listen and try to think. So sit back and relax and let this come over you. Listen and try to think if you remember what we will be speaking of now. Listen. Perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state, not quite forgotten, dim perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar, like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody, attached not to a person or a place or anything particular. But you remember from just this little part how lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing, yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remember how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in the world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen and see if you remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since. Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see, and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle. And all the circle fills with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappear, and what is in it no longer is contained at all. The light expands and covers everything, extending to infinity, forever shining, with no break or limit anywhere. Within it, everything is joined in perfect continuity, nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there's nowhere that this light is not. This is the vision of the Son of God, whom you know well. Here's the sight of him who knows his Father. He is the memory of what you are, part of this, with all of it within you, and joined to all of it as surely as all is joined to you. Accept this vision that can show you this and not the body. You know the ancient song and know it well. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as is this ancient hymn of love the Son of God sings to his Father still. And now the blind can see, for that same song they sing in honor of their Creator gives praise to them as well. The blindness that they made will not withstand the memory of this song. And they will look upon the vision of the Son of God, remembering who He is they sing of. What is a miracle but this remembering? And who is there in whom this memory lies not? The light in one awakens it in all. And when you see it in each other, you are remembering for everyone.